So I want to start by actually talking with the children and the youth. Earlier when they were practicing, and even those of you who weren't here singing, and I see you, we were talking about the fact that I had a really special something I needed them to do. So we're going to start off with that. So can our children and youth just raise your hands so we can see you where you are? Okay, I see you. Yeah, I see you. Good, 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 good. Okay, over here. Good. Okay. So how many of you have ever walked past the church on the sidewalk out there and looked at the church and thought to yourself, that's my church? Have any of you ever done that before? You have, yes, right? How about, have you ever had friends or you did too? Yes. Friends or grandparents visiting, and maybe you drove by in your car or drove over the bridge from Salisbury and you looked at the steeple and you thought or even said to them, that's my church. Have you ever done that? Yeah. Yes, right? It feels really good, doesn't it? Oh, it's a good feeling to see this place and think, that's my church. I know it makes me feel good. I feel proud and happy and warm inside. So let's all say it. This is what we practiced, okay? We're going to start by saying, this is my church. Ready? This is my church. That's really good. Let's say it again. This is my church. Oh, with pride. This is my church. Very good. Now, look around at all the people that are here with us and those of you online. Look at the beautiful windows. How about the building next door? And let's say it one more time, except this time let's say, this is our church. This is our church. One more time. This is our church. Who said sermons aren't fun? I can see their faces. So guess what? When you think, that's my church, you're right. It really is your church. The members and supporters and friends of this church, the members of this church own these buildings. No one else. There's no higher authority or bigger organization who owns this beautiful, beautiful space in this city. The members and friends and supporters of this congregation also pay the staff who work here. Justin, who plays the piano and the organ. Mara, who you all know. Even me, your minister. We all pay to keep the lights on in this sanctuary, to tune the organ so it makes beautiful sound, and install technology so that people can participate in many of our not only Sunday worship services but programs online. No one else pays for those things except us. That's pretty special, actually, isn't it? It's a big responsibility, and it's a privilege. Because in our church, the congregation, our members, friends, and supporters are the church. When you leave this church and you share with someone that you come here, or people learn that you're connected to us, you are us. You are this church. You were here long before me, and it was here long before all of us, and it will be here, God willing, long, long after we're gone. Same steeple, same values, same commitments to love, to justice, and to peace. So every year around this time, we take a service or two to talk about how we take care of this church. And that care includes the people, the programming, young church, the buildings, and much more. There's a lot that goes into making this place hum. And I just want to say, every meeting and every gathering is always open to anyone. I often hear once someone gets involved and they start coming to board meetings or worship planning meetings or staff meetings, they go, I had no idea. You don't have to join those groups to participate and come. Come to a board meeting. Come to a worship planning meeting. Come to a staff meeting. Just come and talk to us. It is your church. It's our church. It actually costs $2,100 to keep this church open for one day. You might think that's a lot of money, or you might think it's a bargain. It's both. It's actually both. It's also true. I think, as I really think about it, it's a pretty good deal. When we consider all that $2,100 a day covers, repair and maintenance of the buildings, adult faith formation programming, young church, salaries, contributions to our social justice partners and causes, AV equipment, music, and more. Some people might say we run a lean machine, or whatever that saying is, something like that. As you've heard, our campaign theme this year is Growing the Gardens of Peace Together. And I love that theme. The moment it was said, in the meeting it was said, I knew in my bones that it was right. Because it captures the richness, the diversity, the complexity, the beauty, and the spirituality of us, the first religious society, Unitarian Universalist. I like how the images of gardens reflect our commitment to climate justice and caring for our earth. How growing and caring for gardens depends upon so many people, each with different skills, different interests, different gifts. Our gardens of peace include the wide welcome and warm embrace that we seek to offer all people, and the peace that comes as we respect and learn from each other because of our differences. Our gardens of peace include this sanctuary, this beautiful sanctuary we're gathered in today, in person and online, and also the sanctuaries in our minds and our hearts, which are essential for all of us. Our gardens of peace include how we love and support one another, how we listen to each other in chalice circles, write each other notes when we're sad, how yesterday, with a memorial service for one of our beloved members, I received email after email thanking me for that service, for those who watched online, including from people who never knew her and showed up. Our gardens of peace include how we work together on the business of this church, which is just as spiritual as anything else. Our gardens of peace also include everything happening beyond these walls in partnerships we have with others working for justice. It's a lot to keep up, a lot to enjoy, and these gardens provide deep nourishment. There's something, I hope, for everyone. Like any garden, caring for this church and our community requires willingness, commitment, and giving. And this year's annual campaign goal, which is $550,000, is 80% of our total budget. No one else is going to fill this in. The other monies, that other 20% of the budget, comes from renting the building, including our steeple, thank goodness for cell needs. It comes from special event fundraising like our auctions and our Cookies for Peace. Comes from interest on the endowment, from those who've gone on and remembered us and wanted this place to live on forever. Everyone, members and friends, is being asked to participate by making a pledge or a promise to give what you can to help us reach that goal. Last year, or this year we're in now, pledges ranged in amount from $100 to over $25,000. Every single pledge mattered. And the thing about it, I can tell you the average pledge was $1,900, which it was. I can tell you our increase this year is 6.8%, which it is, basically riding inflation. But what I can't tell you is what number is right for you, because only you know what that is. Only you know that amount that makes you feel part of. Only you know the amount that you say anything more would be sacrifice or unreasonable, and anything less would be holding back or fearful. But we're asking each of us, myself included, and my beloved, to make a promise or a pledge today or sometime this month, which we don't pay until after July 1st for next year. We do this because we are responsible for this place, and the board and the leadership need to know what next year is going to look like. We don't just sort of hope and wing on a prayer, though sometimes I wish we would. We don't. We need to be responsible. When we make these promises and pledges, we know things change and sometimes you need to decrease it, increase it. That's okay. It allows us, though, now to be responsible in our planning. And when you do fulfill your pledge, you can do it by paying however it works for you, monthly, quarterly, one time. I invite you to think about this year, making a pledge, but I want to invite us all to think about a weekly or a monthly amount first, and then extrapolate that to an annual pledge. Often, the whole number feels too big until we consider what it means for a weekly or a monthly gift, or it feels big enough until we divide it into what it means for a monthly or weekly contribution. Another thing to remember is our Sunday collection is not a pledge, unless you put a check in the basket that says that. Each Sunday we collect money to continue to support ourselves and to give to others in the community, other partners working on justice issues. This month's ministry theme is discernment. Discernment is a critical skill and a spiritual practice. When we live from a place of discernment, we are more intentional. We are less reactive, less thrown about by the wind and others' opinions, or the most recent social media post. We make our best decisions from a place of discernment, based on what we value. Discernment helps us balance our competing concerns and hopes. It allows us to be more present in our days, and it forces us to slow down. None of us are perfect in this skill, nor should that be our goal. That's a setup for frustration and more reactivity. I'll offer a couple of clues. When we act from a discerning place, it's generally not urgent, but it's right, even though it may feel scary or unsettling. There is generally a feeling of conviction and empowerment, even if it's a little unclear as to why. It can feel like we're taking a step off of a cliff, only to find the freedom and the way forward that comes once we make a decision. And I am not only talking about your pledge. Think of your life. We'll be exploring discernment this month in many ways. Today with your pledge commitment, asking you to discern what this church means to you and what you can contribute financially. Next week, Julie Parker Amory will be preaching about listening to the calls of our soul. The following week, I'll be preaching a sermon entitled, What's a Man to Do? It is the sermon that the men's group won in last year's auction, and that is their request. I'm still discerning that one. And the very last week in March, I'll be preaching about the trends of religion in our country. So let's start now with discerning your financial support of FRS for next year. There are many ways to support this church in addition to money, and in no way am I overlooking those. We support by showing up, by participation, by sharing of our talents, our creativity, our time, our love. All of those things are critical, most critical. However, for this moment, I'm asking us to also think about our financial support. Ask, what does this church mean to me? What gardens have I helped to plant? What gardens would I like to see? Which gardens do I appreciate? What does a meaningful gift mean for me? Can I pay for a day or a week of keeping the church open? How about $5 a day, which if everyone did, we would meet our goal? Can I give more than I did last year, even by a little? Or make a first-time promise to this place I'm growing to love?